Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cozy English. I'm so glad you're here to practice your English with me today. Let's get comfortable, maybe grab a nice cup of tea or coffee, and settle in for a relaxed conversation. Today, we're going to talk about something really important, our planet and some of the environmental problems us facing. Don't worry, we'll keep it simple and easy to understand. This is a great topic for practicing new vocabulary and expressing your opinions. So, when we talk about environmental problems, what comes to mind? Maybe you think of pollution or perhaps climate change. These are big topics, but we can break them down. Let's start with something we see every day: waste. Waste is basically another word for trash or garbage. Every day we throw things away, right? Food packaging, old clothes, broken electronics. All of this has to go somewhere. Usually it goes to a big place called a landfill. A landfill is a huge area where we bury our garbage. The problem is, we are creating so much waste that we are running out of space for these landfills. Plus, a lot of the things we throw away don't break down easily. Plastic is a great example. A plastic bottle can stay in a landfill for hundreds of years. That's a very long time. This leads us to a great solution: the 3 R's. Have you heard of them? They stand for reduce, reuse, and recycle. They are 3 simple steps we can all take to help with the waste problem. Let's look at the first one: reduce. To reduce means to use less of something. For example, when you go to the supermarket, you can bring your own bag instead of getting a new plastic one each time. Or you could choose products with less packaging. By reducing the amount of stuff we buy, we reduce the amount of waste we create. It's the most effective of the 3 R's because it stops the problem at the source. Next up is reuse. To reuse something means to use it again. Before you throw something away, ask yourself, can I use this for something else? A glass jar from jam could become a container for pens on your desk, or a pot for a small plant. An old t-shirt could become a cleaning cloth. Being creative with how we reuse items can be fun, and it gives them a second life instead of sending them straight to the landfill. And the third R is recycle. You're probably familiar with this one. Recycling is the process of turning waste materials into new products. Many things can be recycled, like paper, glass, plastic, and metal. Most cities have recycling programs where you can separate these materials from your regular trash. The recycled materials are then collected and sent to a factory where they are processed and made into new things. For example, recycled plastic bottles can be turned into new bottles, or even clothes and furniture. Recycling is great because it saves resources, saves energy, and reduces pollution. So we have reduce, reuse, and recycle. 3 simple words, but they can make a huge difference. Which one do you think is the easiest to do in your daily life? For me, I find reducing is a good challenge. I really have to think before I buy something new. Now, let's move on to another big environmental topic: pollution. Pollution is when harmful substances are introduced into the environment. There are different kinds of pollution. There's air pollution, water pollution, and land pollution. Air pollution is probably the one we think of most often. It's caused by things like fumes from cars, buses, and factories. When we burn fuels like gasoline or coal, they release gases into the air that are not good for us or the planet. This can cause health problems, especially for our breathing. It also contributes to something called the greenhouse effect, which is related to climate change. Clean air is so important for all living things. Then there's water pollution. This happens when waste, chemicals, and other pollutants get into our rivers, lakes, and oceans. Sometimes it comes from factories that release dirty water, or from farms where chemicals used on crops get washed into the water. Even trash that isn't disposed of properly can end up in the water. This is very dangerous for the fish and other animals that live in the water, and it can also make the water unsafe for us to drink or swim in. The oceans are especially suffering from plastic pollution. You might have seen sad pictures of sea turtles or birds trapped in plastic. Finally, there's land pollution, which is closely connected to the waste problem we talked about earlier. When we throw trash on the ground instead of in a bin, that's land pollution, also known as littering. And when harmful chemicals from factories or farming seep into the soil, that's another form of land pollution. This can damage the land and make it difficult to grow food. So, what can we do about pollution? Well, many of the solutions are similar to how we handle waste. We can try to drive our cars less and walk, bike, or use public transportation more to reduce air pollution. We can be careful not to throw trash on the ground or into the water. And we can support companies that try to be more environmentally friendly and produce less pollution. Governments also play a big role by making laws and regulations to control the amount of pollution from industries. The last big topic I want to touch on today is climate change. This is a very complex subject, but we can talk about the basics. Climate change refers to long-term changes in temperatures and weather patterns. Our planet is getting warmer, and this is often called global warming. The main cause of this warming is the increase of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, like carbon dioxide. These gases come from burning fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas for energy to power our homes, our cars, and our factories. These gases act like a blanket around the Earth, trapping heat from the sun and causing the planet's temperature to rise. Why is this a problem? A warmer planet leads to many changes. We see more extreme weather events, like bigger storms, more floods, and longer periods of drought where there is no rain. Glaciers and ice sheets in the polar regions are melting, which causes sea levels to rise. This is a threat to coastal cities and communities all around the world. It also affects animals and their habitats. Some animals might have to move to find cooler places, and others could be in danger of extinction. Dealing with climate change is a huge challenge that requires global cooperation. Countries around the world are working together to find solutions. One of the biggest goals is to switch from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources. Renewable energy comes from sources that won't run out, like the sun, the wind, and water. You've probably seen solar panels on roofs, which capture energy from the sun. Or maybe you've seen large wind turbines, which use the wind to generate electricity. These are clean sources of energy that don't produce greenhouse gases. As individuals, we can help too. We can save energy at home by turning off lights and electronics when we're not using them. As we said before, walking or biking instead of driving helps. Even our food choices can make a difference. Eating more plant-based foods and less meat can reduce our carbon footprint, which is the amount of greenhouse gases our lifestyle creates. It can feel a little overwhelming to talk about these big problems. But the important thing is to remember that every small action counts. We don't have to be perfect, but we can all try to be a little more mindful of our impact on the planet. Let's do a quick recap of the vocabulary we've learned. We talked about waste, which is trash or garbage, and landfills, where we put it. We learned the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. We discussed pollution, including air, water, and land pollution. We also touched on climate change, also known as global warming, which is caused by greenhouse gases from burning fossil fuels. And we talked about positive solutions like renewable energy from sources like solar and wind power. These are great words to add to your English vocabulary. Try to use them this week. Maybe you can look around your own home and see what you can reduce, reuse, or recycle. Or perhaps you can read a short news article in English about an environmental topic. I hope this conversation wasn't too heavy. My goal was to make these important topics accessible and to give you the language to talk about them. Protecting our environment is a responsibility we all share, and being able to discuss it is a powerful skill. What are your thoughts? Do you have any good tips for being more environmentally friendly? I would love to read your ideas in the comments section below. Sharing our experiences is a wonderful way to learn from each other. Thank you so much for joining me for this session of Cozy English. I really enjoy our time together. I hope you found it helpful and that you feel more confident talking about the environment in English. Remember to be kind to yourself and to our beautiful planet. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.